How'd you feel, first of all, in the B game back there?
It felt pretty good. A little slow start, but I feel like we got a good rhythm in the second and third inning, and we're landing all pitches for strikes, so it was something good to see.
You've been the opening day starter before
Mhm.
twice, but how did it feel when Woody told you were going to be it this year?
It felt different this time. I don't know if because I haven't done it in a couple of years now, but just the amount of confidence this team has in me, and it's a good spot to be in. And like I know we're kind of young as a staff, but it's really cool to get that spot and really kind of start to set the tone.
How cool is it to be the opening day starter? What does it mean to you?
It's just Well, I mean, it makes me feel that the team is really confident in me. It definitely helps like boost that morale, and um, it's really cool that they want to put me up there in game one, and know that that we really want to win that one, and we got a really good chance with you. So yeah, it means a lot.
You mentioned the
No, no, go ahead.
you mentioned the young pitching staff that you guys have. You guys like Dane, Taylor, Spencer, XYZ, all down the line. How have you seen them? What have you seen from them in camp?
I mean, I've seen that every one of them has obviously really good quality big league stuff, and it's going to be really cool to see it come together throughout the year. I haven't seen a lot of them yet, but we've been in different divisions, but definitely know about them and know about their stuff, and I've seen a lot of it in camp. So it's just a ton of talent, and I just can't wait to see it put in the game.
How much did you mix in your slider today?
Not as I didn't really rely on it as much today. We threw just as many curveballs as sliders today, so. But that felt good too, just to kind of use other pitches because there's going to be days where your slider doesn't feel good. There's going to be days where your other stuff doesn't feel good. But just to have something else to go to that you can battle with is a good spot to be as a starting pitcher.
Were you using the new grip when you did it?
Yes, yeah, and we had some good ones too, and but we just didn't heavily rely on it today.
Yeah. The Rangers have a track record recently of veteran pitchers coming here and then really taking off with some suggestions by the staff, that kind of thing. Did that have any influence on you coming here?
Not really. I just kind of saw where the team was headed and how much they thought I was a good player, and they had total belief in me. So and just seeing the direction of the club and the guys are pulling in, I mean, it was a no-brainer. Like I obviously wanted to be part of that, and it's really cool that it's starting to take off right now.
Yeah, you mentioned last week that when the Rockies, I guess, had told you after 2018 that all that can be done with the slider has been done, and that's that. Is it really refreshing to you to see an approach where people are still teaching you even at your age?
Yes, and I feel every week I'm here I'm learning something new, and I've been able to take it into the bullpen or work on it in a throwing program, and it's just nice to have different tools to go to. Kind of when you feel like you need to take another step. I feel like those are being applied, and it's just never been in a better spot.
What's it like working with Garver, with Trevino, with Heim?
They're all really great catchers. They're all really great catchers, and but I've worked most with Trevino so far, and I've played against him a lot. Solid player, and but he's just even better to work with behind the plate. It makes you feel totally confident, and he explains why everything works so well, and it's nice to have someone you feel like you're on the same page with.
Is there anything you notice difference-wise between Trevino and Heim?
Not really. I don't really notice that much, but just they both make you feel confident. They're not, just going through the motions. Um, I've had good and bad catchers, but the guys that are really just they I guess they take pride in your pitching game too, and that's what those guys do, and that's what I like.
Is there a comparison with the catcher you worked with in the past in Colorado that you can maybe?
No, I mean I have to go back a long ways probably to find someone I didn't like, but no, everybody's been good, and but it's really cool to have catchers that really they want to own the pitching game too, and they take a lot of pride in it, and those are the guys usually that you work really well with.
What do you think the younger guys that are going to be in the rotation, what do they need to do to take that step up this year?
Yeah, I think it's different for every one of them, but just like if I had to go back to when I was in that spot, I would just know that you're really good and you're here for a reason, and then take what makes you good and run with it. Like that's the thing. You can really get caught up into trying to be someone else who you're not, but finding the kind of pitcher who you are and run with it. And there's going to be adjustments you got to make too along the way, but just really trust in what you do and just know that you were born for this reason, and that's I think the biggest thing. Yeah.
Felt pretty good. I think damage control was decent today for 5 hits in 3 innings, but overall, it's a win.
I guess you did allow the first run you've allowed this spring. What did you take from that?
I think if today was last year, it would have gone much differently, so I'm happy with how things unfolded today.
I think what's changed the most about you from last year to this year, you think?
I'd say I trust my stuff more. Put in a lot of work in the offseason, just mechanically, mentally. I think overall I'm feeling just better as a pitcher.
You gave up a couple of hard hit balls there in the first inning, and then that was pretty soft contact for the most part. What did you make any adjustments, or?
Well, my main takeaway from today was I got to be more intentional about where I put my fastballs. There were some that I wanted up, and it was just a little bit too low, and then some that I needed in, and it was a little bit too middle. So it's kind of nitpicky, but that's the main focus from today.
When you talk about how last year would have gone south, you just mean mentally for yourself involved?
Yeah, probably just a couple more walks, a couple more hits, and then a couple more runs.
Yeah. Do you have they gone over with you so far, if you're in the rotation, how that's going to play out early, or is this 3 innings look like probably what everybody's going to be on, kind of a leash like that?
I haven't heard anything. I'm just throwing balls when they tell me to.
Okay.
Just curious, in your last outing, really Ramon Laureano is probably the only real major leaguer you faced in that lineup. Today you get Stevenson, you got Joey Votto. Does that bring your confidence a little bit more when you're facing those guys? I know it's spring training.
I'd say you got to have more of an approach because they have more of an approach, but it doesn't take away from just trying to attack guys.
Thank you. Camp going, is it a different feel because of the condensed nature of it, or is anything normal at this point anymore?
No, it's camp's great. Yeah, definitely after obviously the uncertainty with the lockout and free agency on top of that, kind of squeezed into a pretty tight time frame. I feel like this is the normalcy for us, is just getting out here, being able to play. Meet everybody. But it is, when you look at the schedule and see, we have 1 more week left of games and that's it, you realize how fast it's been. But everything's been pretty smooth out here. It's a great group, so I'm loving it.
A lot of new faces in this clubhouse, yourself included. And if you've been around this game for a long time, you kind of come to realize that, you're never going to have the same team 2 years in a row for that matter. But, for the adjustment period, the chemistry building, how's that been?
It's been awesome. Like you said, they've added a lot of high character guys to step in right with the good mix they already had. So I think at least the young guys I've been around are true professionals, and they're ready to compete and learn and get better. And it's been awesome. It's been pretty seamless to show up, and everybody's on the same page. And there's a lot of excitement right now in camp.
And for you personally, at this point in your career, what do you feel like you have to offer? What do you want to get out of this, experience, this organization, all that?
I think I'm hungry to get better. My goal is I want to make my 30s better than my 20s, and I think this is a place to do it. The staff makes it pretty easy to just go out there and be fearless and play your game. Which kind of aligns up with how I want to play the game and my kind of style. So it's a really nice fit, and I'm just hungry to win and really improve. I think there's a lot more left in the tank.
Thank you. Appreciate
Spencer Howard.
What growth have I seen? A ton. But listen, it's hard to say because we obviously, the last time I talked to him, it was a few months prior. So the way he came back physically. Where he is emotionally, spiritually, this guy is in a better place. He feels good about himself. He's confident. The ball shows that. The hitters are showing that. So it's just a matter of keeping that and adding to that every outing, I guess. We'll see today. I'm excited to see him throw. I think we were all, eyes wide open when we saw him throw the first time. We're like, that's what we remember seeing when we saw video of him back in the day. That's the Spencer Howard that we traded for. And I guess the ceiling for Spencer, who knows, man? He's got a ton of talent, and it's nice to see him just there's a belief there in himself.
Are you seeing Cole Calhoun's mentality at the plate rub off on other guys?
I'm seeing Cole Calhoun's mentality rub off on every guy. the fight that this guy has on a daily basis, the banter, the quality of the teammate, the character, it's just the way he treats people. He's just a joy to have around, honestly, and it's everything that we want here. He represents, the fight that we want every player to have. It's, it's unique to every guy. I don't want to change anybody's personality, but he's definitely risen the spirits of everybody in camp. He has that effect on people, and that's why he's here.
With Spencer, I know we don't want to talk about whatever happened with Philadelphia. We don't speak on that, but I know he said he didn't have a routine there. So is he a guy that if he doesn't make the club, like he's going to go to AAA and like be a starter, and y'all will
Yes.
probably not.
Yeah, I mean
transition him to a point.
here he could have a multiple role depending on. I would say we're going to go one way or the other. Like if he's our fifth starter, or if he's like 3 or 4 inning guy out of the bullpen, whatever that would be here. We're obviously going to communicate that with him. As of right now, we're just building him up as a starter. But if he goes to AAA, he's going to start. We're not going to mess around with him in any other kind of role, I don't think, at this point. That's my phone, by the way. Not Evan. Evan's not here. I had to fill in for him. But yeah, I mean that's the plan as we stand right now. But the way he's throwing the ball, if we have a few guys throwing the ball pretty well. So if somebody we decide fits better in that fifth spot, then if we want to keep him on the ball club, we can put him in a more versatile role. But I don't want to bounce him back and forth. That's what I don't want to start him one time and out of the bullpen the next. It's either going to be a solidified role.
So with those 4 guys that are potential for the 5th starter, is there a chance that 2 of those make the team, with one being in a sort of long relief role?
Yeah, I mean, we've thought about it, and we're probably going to bring that to their attention soon. We're at right now, we've told some of these guys that there's a chance that might happen, but right now we're just kind of building everybody to be a starter, and then we'll kind of see who either grabs the spot or who we feel like is best suited for that spot, and then we can adjust off of that. But if there's a guy in that group that we can't deny on the team, we'll make a spot for him. I mean, that's it. But that's a good problem to have. We have that problem on the offensive side a little bit with some guys having some good camps. It's like, all right, who do we choose? We got good. I guess good. Either way, we're in good shape. Tough choices to make. Oh, I do want to say, I did tell John Gray he is the opening day starter. Did I take your question?
No.
Oh, okay.
But
I asked that yesterday, and you didn't give me any.
I didn't, because I hadn't told him yet. I was planning on, he didn't show up until a little later. I was planning on telling him before I got to you guys.
All right, well then I'll ask the John Gray question. Besides the obvious, why John Gray, and why is it important that he's that guy?
I think it's really important for the organization. Just, we signed him for that reason. We knew when we signed him that he was going to be our number one. I knew that. He knew that. He's good. He's an elite pitcher, and I just think where he's at right now, he's had a ton of success in the big leagues, but I think there's another level to him, and he believes that. He can't wait to get to that level.
I know he's new, has experience, not a 10-year vet or anything, but is there, if he's the number one in your staff, is there a thought that he also takes on a leadership role, or is that something that Martin Perez will hopefully shoulder some of that load? What's the thought on that?
I think they're all going to lead in their own way. I'm not going to force. I know we talked about it. He will definitely be part of our leadership group, like that kind of makes decisions on the behalf of the team. He's earned that right, along with some other guys. I'm not going to ask him to stand up in front of the group and give team speeches or anything kind of silly like that. But he's going to lead by example. He's going to lead by sharing his experiences and things that have happened to him in his career, adjustments that he's had to make over the years. And it's unique because of where he pitched. He had a difficult task as a starting pitcher in Colorado for the years he was there. He grew up in that organization, so all of that experience that he can share with Dane Dunning and some of these younger starters, like, hey, you got it easy here, man. Like, you don't have to worry about the altitude. You don't have to worry about not only the physical part of the altitude, but like the way your ball moves and how you're having to shape your pitches differently, and all those things kind of factor in. And now he can share all those with guys. I think that's valuable experience, and he's all in on that. He's already done that, every day he's been here.
I got one Spencer Howard question. So small sample size already with the abbreviated spring. Other than whatever game reps he gets, one of the thoughts was that once he crossed a certain threshold, the stuff changed. are there ways for you guys to evaluate that? I think it was like 30 pitches. I don't know what it was, but are there ways for you to evaluate that other than the one start he might make where he does cross that threshold? Because I feel like that's probably important in giving him a rotation spot, right?
Yeah, I think we look at that with all of our guys. To be honest with you, what is that threshold? Where does their stuff start to decline, and how do we? It's not like, I know my first year, Mike Miner was coming off injury, and it was 85 pitches. And I talked to him about it. I was open about it with him. Like, hey, after 85 pitches, like we see a serious decline. Now, there's a couple ways you can go about this. Like, I can take you out of the game, or you can find a way to be a little bit more effective with different pitches. If you don't have the velo that you had for the first 85, like, how are you going to get guys out? And if he can show me that, not only in words but in action, like, maybe I'll be able to keep you in there. And I did that. I gave him that opportunity that year. So with a lot of these younger guys, I think, the old school baseball was like, you're either a starter or reliever, and you're either a starter that goes 110 pitches or you're a reliever that throws 1 inning. Like, I know there's been middle guys and, multi-inning guys, but usually those guys are the length guys, the last guy out of the bullpen. You just come in and clean it up and give up 5 runs in 6 innings. Like, we don't have those roles anymore. We're not going to keep a guy on the roster to mop up innings. Like, every guy on our roster is going to have a job, a role. And there is going to be, somebody's going to have to pitch when we're down 10. Which, hopefully that never happens, but it will at some point to every team. So I think it's unique to each guy. And, our job as coaches is to figure out what's this guy's best role. And is that 45 pitches max, 50 pitches, 70 pitches? Where is that threshold? And if there is a threshold, can we make that threshold higher later? Can we develop him into that? And, Mike Miner's a good case. Like, if I would have just said 85, you're done forever. It'd be silly. Maybe he was just coming off injury. Maybe he's just working his way back. Maybe the youth. A lot of guys feel a lot more stress when you're younger, so you burn out. You burn out faster. Like, your body you're not a robot out there. So I understand, like, the capacity to actually go out and pitch and execute. Like, once that anxiety kind of goes down, or that stress level goes down because you feel comfortable, now your capacity to pitch more innings and more pitches increases. So that's the development usually of starting pitching, and that's why you kind of like hold their hand through it a little bit. But in Spencer's case, I don't know what that is. I mean, we'll continue to look at the numbers. They don't lie. If you start to see things decline, maybe there's more cardio in the weight room. Maybe there's easy solutions, or maybe it's just a level, the level of stress that he feels goes down, and that allows him to pitch longer.
Yes, one John, one Spencer question. Has John been the opening day starter before?
Yes, a couple times. Yeah, I wasn't sure because I have a run of 3 years in a row of getting a guy to do it the first time in his career, and breaking that streak. I mean, hopefully, knock on wood again, nothing happens to obviously John before that. Yeah, I don't know why I said that. Threw it out there. Reverse that. Rewind.
And with Spencer, I know we talked about last year after the trade deadline, just going through the mental everything. How is he right now, I guess? Not physically, but coming into spring training.
Phenomenal. It's as good. Obviously, we've only known him since we had him last year, and wasn't able to talk to him through the lockout. But where he's at now is just like there's a just more life in him right now. He was, I wouldn't say defeated. He handled himself really well last year. Coming in a difficult situation, and then when he got here, didn't really perform that well. So, you could tell if that's the lowest I'm going to see of Spencer Howard, he's pretty damn good. As far as just being a good character guy and not feeling sorry for himself and just kept fighting. He wasn't at his best, and he knew that. But he still went out there. He still, took the ball and said, give me the ball. So this version of him is like, it's fresh. There's a lot more life there. It's like the unique personality, California kid, loves to go out on earth and probably likes to surf and do other things. And you see this free spirit, and it's like, that's what we love about him. And now you start to see the body work in that way. It's really cool to see that. Now, obviously, how do we maintain that? Success will maintain it. If he doesn't have success, how do we just keep building him up and making him a better pitcher?
Is this his last outing, or is he going to have one more after this?
I believe we have one more.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have other guys earthing yet?
What's that?
Does he have other guys out there earthing a little bit?
Yeah, there's a lot of guys who. Bees does it. Bees encourages a lot of guys.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good thing to do, man. It's like spiritually, it puts yourself in. We got a lot of guys that meditate and, do a lot of cool things to get the mind right. And I encourage that. We encourage it in all different ways. And individually speaking, hey man, you need to have some belief in yourself when you step on that mound or in that batter's box, and that's a huge factor. I don't think enough. I know we're kind of semi-jokingly about it, but it's a real thing, man. When a guy can be himself, when he's out on that field, it's a powerful thing, and I don't ever want to create an environment where we all have to fit the same mold. No, that's not true. We're all different. We're all unique.
So the R&D department.
Yeah, right there,
I
man.
love this.
Let's go. Smart guys.
I'm wondering with somebody like Gray, like this to me is where R&D is like really amazing, or can be.
Yep.
Can you guys say or know or predict that there's going to be, an appreciable difference with the way his stuff will work over the course of the season? It's one thing to say, okay, the altitude's tough, right? We know that. But what we've found, I think, what we've sort of fallen on in recent years is like, well, it's the changing, right? It's the, it's the coming back to Denver and then going back to the road. The stuff that works at home doesn't work the same on the road, et cetera. So were you guys able to ascertain anything that could tell you, his effectiveness would jump 17%, whatever,
I don't know numbers-wise. I just know from a consistency standpoint, if I were to tell you, hey, here's the dartboard, and now I'm going to tell you tomorrow, you actually have to aim 6 inches right to hit the bullseye. And then the next day you have to go straight at it. The next day you have to go 6 inches to the right to hit the middle. It's like that just in itself doesn't create consistency. So with John, there's always different mounds. Like yesterday we were at, I mentioned that after the game. There's, that mound in Peoria is a little different. You can see a lot of our guys were missing high with their sliders. And it's like those are adjustments that every pitcher has to adjust to. Some mounds are higher, sometimes feel higher, some, whatever. It's raining that day, it's not raining, it's sunny, it's, the ball's slippery, whatever it is. You're always having to make adjustments. But, in John Gray's case, it's like that's probably the most difficult thing as a pitcher. When you're pitching in altitude and you're relying on a slider to break, if you just know every time you pitch, basically, like my spot I aim at, my target is there, the ball's going to end up there. I don't ever really have to change off of that, maybe just by a few inches. That's the difference between pitching, say, in Texas as opposed to Minnesota. But going from Colorado to anywhere else, it's such a drastic difference that it's so hard. That's why so many guys struggle. Obviously the stuff doesn't have the same bite, in Colorado. He learned how to pitch there. He was really effective in Colorado, more so than probably everybody else that was on that staff. He actually struggled sometimes on the road, probably because his slider and curveball and fastball played different and, was a strike to ball pitch that guys just checked off. Whereas in Colorado, it just kind of stays true and it stays in the strike zone. So just for him, just the relief of not having to manipulate so much in between starts. If he throws a bullpen at home and he's pitching in Kansas City the next start, it's not going to be a big difference. So that just is going to put his, like I said, stress level really low, just to say, hey, I just got to go out and execute.
Has he expressed that to you?
Yeah,
The relief
That's why he's
kind of getting out
you
of there?
could feel a ton of relief on his part, just in who he, and I didn't know him beforehand, but just talking to him about it, he's as excited as he's ever been to start a season because of that. It's the first time in his career, in his big league career, that he's ever started outside of that altitude, which is, I'm excited for him.
Speaking of, speaking of, I guess, the mental performance, you guys had a couple of new mental performance coaches. How has that had an effect on the team, I guess, as a whole?
They've been phenomenal. Honestly, it was, I loved Mike Franco, our previous, but, we had to, part ways, and it was mutual, obviously, but Hannah and Dave Franco, who were both on the minor league side, and they both are rock stars, and they both kind of collaborated and developed our minor league system, and it's something that I'm very passionate about. I know CY and JD are very passionate about it. CY, being a former player, is extremely passionate about it. So when you have myself and those at the top that are pushing hard on this, that we need to be better in this area, and we need to provide more for our players, and even on the mental health side with hiring Nicole Lennon, was huge. So we separate the mental health part from the mental performance, and that's always something that's always blended, and I don't like it. Mental performance should not have to be responsible for mental health. So what we've done in that department as a whole, I couldn't be prouder of. And to put Hannah, we obviously had to make a decision. We had these two rock stars. One of them had to be with us in the big leagues because we had a vacancy, and we obviously decided to go with Hannah in the big leagues, and I can't say enough about them both. Honestly, they've blown me away by just over this offseason. They've listened to everything that I've said, that our organization said, that this is what we stand for, this is what we want our players to represent, and they've designed, an entire program based around that. And I use their words. They use mine, and have created this system, that fits. But I use their words. That's how. I mean, it's pretty powerful and it's simple. It's not overly complex, but it gets guys in the right frame of mind, and it's real. I mean, it's a real advantage when guys can go out there with that belief, like I said, and the mentality that we're looking for to kind of just stay in the moment, stay present, and compete. And that's it's much harder to do. It's easier to say, much harder to do when there's a lot on the line.